Welcome to the Market and Main podcast. My name is Mapeus. I'm your host today. And today on the show, we have Sheyla Jordan. Sheyla is the owner and operator of Shey Natural Smoothies and an interpreter and translator at Sheyla Jordan Interpreting Agency. So welcome to the show, Sheyla.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, so tell me a little bit about your two businesses. This is very interesting to me. Like, there's a lot of smoothies in here and natural foods and health bar and all that kind of stuff. Like, let us in on that business first.
Okay. So Shey Natural Smoothies is crazy because that started during the pandemic while we were closed down. Me and my friends, they would come over to my house and we would work out. And after working out, I would make smoothies. And my husband, he would always tell me you need to turn this into a business. So I was like, well, we're not doing nothing. Everybody's kind of chilling. And at that time, it was a lot of miscommunication or a lot of bad information out there about what should we do to protect ourselves. I'm like, well, go the natural route. Why not boost your immunity with natural products, with fruits, vegetables, herbs? Why not try to do it at this time? So that's where Shey Natural Smoothies was born.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, I know a lot of people that actually started businesses during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And also my first business, we really had a thrill ride in 2020. Mm-hmm. It's the second half of 2020 was the best year ever to that point. Mm-hmm. But at that point, it was all you doing it at home, right? So what was your distribution channel back then? It's how did you market this? And then also how did people reach you? Because I imagine that at that point, you didn't have a brick and mortar store or anything like that. So,
and honestly, right now, I still don't have a brick and mortar store.
Okay, so
I run everything off of my website.
Okay.
So everything is online. All the smoothies and juices are made fresh to order. And also, when I first started, I was going to a lot of workout, boot camps. Mm-hmm. I would go to a lot of vendor events. I would just kind of pop up at when kids are training. I would put it out on my Facebook. I was really, I don't want to say in tune with what was going on around the city, but I kind of tried to make sure that I was at a bunch of events, kind of promoting the business. And also, I was a little bit known around the city for being very health conscious, being very I like natural products only, bougie,
sure.
or that way.
So then, so that was word of mouth and really going there and door knocking basically, right? Mm-hmm. And then how do you deliver? Is it online? I mean, I bet that's fresh food. So how does it get delivered? How does it not go bad?
So I deliver them myself. Right now, we are only shipping to Nashville and Atlanta just because it doesn't, it's not that far away. Mm-hmm. So it's not just sitting there for a long time. But I do make them freshly ordered. And I ask for a day grace period so that I can make them and get them delivered to you.
Okay. So that means so everything local will be delivered same day?
Yeah.
Something like that? And then Nashville, Atlanta, next day. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then what are you doing in summer?
In the summer, I'm going to a lot of events. And then my husband and I, we play flag football. So we're on the flag football scene and I vend a lot of the flag football tournaments that we're at.
Okay.
Because it was also another spark for the business. We would go to these tournaments and there'll be nobody out there. We'd be out there from 8 a.m. till 10 at night playing just hardball, just out there, no food, everybody's dying, the crust around your mouth.
So, I mean, coming back to what's the number one thing or the best thing for a business, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to marketing and everything, it's not having the best, I mean, no offense here, but not having the best stuff or anything, best delivery, anything. Mm-hmm. What you really need to sell the most is a starving crowd. Right. Basically. So, and that's okay. Basically. That makes sense. So, and now we're I mean, it's debatable, but pandemic is over more or less, right?
Yeah.
Not feeling it really anymore. Mm-hmm. COVID is becoming more and more like the flu season. So what's the business doing now? You say you still don't have a brick and mortar place, so you're now you're, making the smoothies in the morning and then delivering during the day. And then, it's like if someone wants like a smoothie right now, is that possible?
Yes, that's possible. I can make them right there to order. I do ask for maybe an hour, 30 minutes. It depends on if you want me to deliver them or not. If you want to just pull up on me, then you can just order right there and I'll make it for you.
Okay.
Basically. But if you want me to deliver them, about an hour to 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, that's quick.
But health is forever.
Right.
You don't,
that's true.
You
no, I'm just like trying to figure out, like, I mean, a lot of people, we have a lot of businesses popping up like that.
Yeah.
I think we're like here in Dayton, even in Dayton, we have, I think, 3 nutrition stores.
Okay.
That's like, seems to be like a big thing, even in small towns like this, where only like, 7,500 people here around. We have a lot of through traffic because of 27, but, other than that, rather small. So
yeah.
Now, like, tell me, like, what's the next steps? What are you thinking of next? Like, how do you want to scale?
Well, right now we have our Be Natural wellness line. So the wellness line includes our herbal tea, our herbal enhancements, which you can add to your own smoothies. A lot of people like to make their own smoothies at home. So you can get like the ginger root, the turmeric root, the hemp seeds from us. We also have our homemade whipped Shey body butter. It's with jojoba oil, mango butter. I'm sorry. It was jojoba oil, mango butter, rosehip oil, and shea butter.
Okay.
So they're all homemade. We're doing that now. We're also starting our Sweat and Soca class. Sweat and Soca is like a Caribbean infused kind of workout class that we're going to be doing at the beginning of the year. So we're branching out on there as well. And our plan to scale is to get a food truck. So our next plan is to get us a food truck where we can go to more events, scale up to more people. And the end goal of the dream is to get a brick and mortar called Shey Natural Health Bar, where we're going to have our smoothies, our juices. We're going to have a space for other health enthusiasts to come and kind of create what they would like to create. Also a space for, for like workout sessions, workout classes, like stuff like that. Just
so nice the workout that this is like health related. I understand that, but like, is it more of a like a way to like draw people in and then like introduce them to the smoothies and to everything else that you produce, the butter and whatever, or is it more like, okay, so this is like 2 types of businesses that we run just like parallel?
Well, to be honest with you, I enjoy those spaces. I have a lot of fun working out. I like to joke. In my previous life, when I was living back at home, I was a track and field athlete. So I ran from ages 6 to when I decided to leave the island in 2015. So I was always into being fit, being healthy, being natural, because I'm in that track and field space. You can't always take certain things because
you're talking about Cuba, right?
Cayman Islands. I was a track and field athlete for the Cayman Islands. Yeah.
So that's it's pretty warm down there, and then running that is like, that's a workout in itself, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. So I've always been in that space, and I've always enjoyed being in that space. The smoothies, the nutrition, it all came out of being in that space, knowing, I'm an athlete. I have to make sure that I get the best nutrition. I get the best of everything. And that just kind of followed me throughout my life. And being able to have somewhere or being able to do something that I can mesh everything that I like to do and make a living out of it, why not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I'm impressed. Like, I'm not the person to talk to. Like, I'm from Germany. When it comes to nutrition,
is cool.
we throw beer at everything, right? So that's our like way of nutrition. But like, jokes aside, this is a space where more and more people are more conscious about their health. They want to, extend their life and, feel better. I think a lot of it is like, I want to feel good about myself right now. I think also to be said that a lot of people, use it as like a way or like, not an excuse, but like, it's like, well, at least I eat healthy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something, where, this consciousness for health and for nutrition is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So that is like an interesting way of doing business. And and that all from home. That's I have a lot of respect for that. Also, like you are a mother of 3, you said, right?
Yes.
And one of them is right there.
Yes,
For
Lisa.
the people listening, when you hear some noises every once in a while, that's a dedicated mother here, brought her newborn to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and then tell me about the second business. You're translating and you're like interpreting. You know, for what languages? English, Spanish, or
English and Spanish. So in interpreting, I actually started interpreting in 2018. I was working for a company from home because I was doing personal training at the time, but I started having my children. I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. So I started to figure out what else can I do, and I got a freelance call for an interpreting company. I was like, oh, this is interesting. My family, they moved from Cuba very young. My parents were like 22, 21 when they moved from Cuba. I was like 2 years old. So they moved to the Cayman Islands, to Grand Cayman, and they didn't know a lick of English. So I kind of grew up at home. Everybody speaks Spanish, but at school, everybody speaks English.
Right.
So I just grew up knowing both languages. And in the island, it wasn't, it was a plus, like that you spoke Spanish, you spoke 2 languages, but there wasn't like a big industry for it. It wasn't until I moved to the US where it was like, oh, we could use interpreters. Like we need people who can speak both languages to bridge, the communication. And at first it started out as medical interpreting. So I would do a lot of like medical appointments, people going into surgeries, people about to have children, like stuff like that.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of be the bridge in between them. So I thought it was a pretty.
But that was all live and in person then, right?
Yeah. It's live. It's live on the phone. Like most of the times I'm on the phone.
Oh, okay. So you're not there with them.
I'm not there in person.
Okay.
Sometimes there are some companies where they want you to be there in person. So you can go to different appointments around the city, stuff like that.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So there's, okay, the medical part I get because, a lot of people, like you said, probably like your parents, at home, they don't have to speak the other language. So they're like, I'm
How
good.
do I communicate?
And then also we see this, in Germany, we had a huge Turkish population where in the 60s, after the war and everything, they invited a lot of people because, we didn't have enough, men to work, but we had so much to do with like rebuilding the country. So there was a lot of people from Turkey coming in. And what happened was that, they were like, well, it's only for a year or 2. I don't have to learn the other language, especially the women that came with them. They, never spoke German, and, never really learned it because then, communities were growing around them where a lot of other Turkish people were there and, they never had to do that. So, but then, people like that still have to go to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So where, translation is, inevitable. So that makes a lot of sense to me too. It's like, it's interesting, like how many like subcultures, live in a country and where like suddenly where language is never a problem in your daily life, suddenly it becomes a problem if you go to, let's say, a doctor or, something like that.
Anywhere. It's crazy. I like to make fun of my calls, but my craziest calls are the 911 calls. Like the 911 calls are hilarious. But I've never gotten a crazy somebody, almost dying or anything. But they're always like someone's drunk or somebody's having a party, it's too loud, like stuff like that.
Okay, and then you have to interpret it?
I have to interpret. I have to go bounce back and forth because as an interpreter, you don't have any type of like moral like obligation. Like all you do is
it's like word by word, just translate it so it makes sense. All right, so it's like, okay, what did this person say? And then you just like go back and forth, and that's all over the phone then, right?
Yeah.
Like in a situation where like police shows up and it's like, hey, you're too loud. And you're like, what? Like, I don't understand, and then you're just like going back and forth. So are you like on call then all the time, or how does that work?
Whenever I sign in. Whenever I feel like signing on, you can log on and you have a phone that's directed to you. And when you're available, the calls will come. When you put yourself unavailable, no calls will come.
Oh, cool. So that's like an online service.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. That's like, that's a And that's available for whatever language?
Whatever language. Yeah.
Wow. This is like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't know such a thing exists. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was like,
Do
okay.
you speak German?
Yeah, of course I speak German. I mean, I try to, but, not that I would have time for that. But, also like, I have to say this, that, especially with Germans, you won't find very many Germans.
Yeah, that's another thing. Because when I moved here, like speaking Spanish with someone else was kind of weird because I didn't have anybody to speak Spanish with. And I caught myself like the language was leaving me. I was like, I need to speak this more often.
Absolutely.
So I can only imagine like if there's not that many Germans around. Like,
well, I mean, there's a lot of Germans around here.
Okay.
Plus, like, was my first business, Pitco.
Okay.
We're doing industrial automation.
Oh, okay.
Where like we're basically surrounded by Germans all the time because we have Volkswagen down here. It's a German company.
Yeah.
Right. We did a lot of business with them. We do a lot of business with the companies that are vendors of Volkswagen. What are also like mostly German companies. Therefore, I speak a lot of German. Also, like a lot of my clients that it's a unique selling point.
Yeah.
Hey, we're an American company, yes, but German run.
Yeah.
And, I kind of bridge the gaps between the two cultures, the language also sometimes, but more culturally than, the language, because like I said, like even the people that don't live here, they speak English well enough. I'm not saying like super great like you or me or whatever, but like well enough to like communicate.
Yeah.
Right.
To get by.
But culturally, that's like the big gap here that we have. Germans are very direct and like in your face and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Whereas like Americans are not, or most of them are not.
Or they feel like if you are, it's rude, and it's like.
Well, right, and that's a big problem, right? Yeah. So I have it very often.
Cubans are like that too. They're like very like boisterous and like I remember having a boyfriend back at home. Me and my dad were talking, and me and my dad, the way we speak, it sounds like we're arguing. If you're just walking by the street, they'll be like, those people are arguing. It's like, no, that's just how we talk to each other. And my ex, he just drove off. He was like, I thought you guys were arguing. I'm like, no. We're just very passionate.
It's the same. It's like when I call my mom, like once a week or so, and my wife hears me speak with them. I mean, my wife's American, and at this point she kind of knows, but like she's like, I can never tell if you're arguing or if you're just talking about the weather, right? So it's like that. But in business, that sometimes can give you problems. When a lot of the American counterparts here in a project, they're getting offended, because the Germans speak English, right? But they speak it in a way where how they would speak German, right? So therefore, there's a lot of situations where, that comes across super rude, disrespectful. And then we have tension in a project where there's already tension because the project is maybe behind or anything. But then on top of that, there's like personal tension that, is really bad. So even though like I'm not like officially only promoting that, but that's really a lot of the work I as a person do when I'm somewhere on site, because you want to bridge that gap between the Germans don't mean it mean either. Like they don't mean to
it's
like offend you.
Like both parties need to just realize that this is kind of like, okay, I get it. You're a little bit more sensitive, so maybe I can, tweak how I speak to you, and then you also need to realize that this is not how I'm culturally.
That's never working.
Culturally, I'm not that way.
Culturally, like we have bigger cultural differences than a lot of people think, right? Yeah. So, and that also comes from, and I had to learn that the hard way too. Like that also comes from television. So in Germany, for example, it was, I think it's still like that, but it's very common, or it's like normal that movies, for example, right? Movies, TV shows, whatever. We're watching the same stuff you guys watch here, right? So, but it's all dubbed. And it's dubbed really well. I have to say that. Like if you're not an English speaker, like on a daily basis, you don't even see the lips not matching. What I see it now, and I, now after so many years in the United States, I can't watch TV anymore in Europe. Like I get, this is weird. Like I can't do it because I see what they're saying. But then I hear the German, it's awful. But, culture is also dubbed. Like, because, the way people say something on television then in those shows is German. It's the German way of saying stuff. It's the German way of like communicating. So you never see the cultural differences in speech. You know, speech is so powerful at the same, but in both directions. It can mess it up for you or it can help you a lot, right? So that being said, you know, like, you know, I have projects where Germans come over for a week, 2, 3, project managers. They're like, they are, right? They're just using a different language, but they are still like they are. They communicate like they speak German to another German, what never works here, right? I had people telling me, I'll walk off site. Like, I'm done. I don't want to work with you guys anymore. This is awful, right? Whereas if you then go to the German and say, hey, you did something wrong here. You can't talk to people like that. They're offended that I would even bring something like that up because they think they have done nothing wrong. And there's like the huge gap here that we have. And I can only imagine like with other cultures too that are more like, you know, voicing their opinions more with more passion, let's put it like that, right? Then the American culture does this, then, you know, there's a lot of problems with that too.
I definitely can see that. Like you shouldn't, but you feel like you have to dial it down for people, and you really shouldn't, because that's who you are.
Okay, but that's also
your essence.
I think you should, but I mean, like I said, I have had to learn this the hard way, right?
Yeah.
I'm still German, and you never like I'm here since I'm 33, so you're never gonna get that out of me anymore. Even though I have to say I'm adapting a lot because you know my wife's American. Like I had a lot of like roommates before that were American before, you know. But I think, you know, we're guests here, right?
We are.
So. And I think that I should adapt as good as I can to the current culture here because I'm not saying I'm the nuisance, but like I'm the implant here. So I should adjust to my new environment rather than expect the environment to adjust to me.
Yeah.
You know, even though there's like a little bit of a back and forth in that, you know, because, you know, cut me a little bit of slack because, you know, I don't mean it that way. But I
I definitely think you should. Like if you move into somewhere new, you should adapt to it. If not, you should have just stayed home.
Right.
And,
exactly. So
do exactly what you do. But I also don't think you should take away, because that's the beauty of, you know, the US. People get to come here and you can dial it down, but you still get to be yourself.
Right. It's like, and it's to that sense, like, you know, that being said, that I appreciate way more about the United States. When I first came here, I tried to like as fast as possible to get rid of my accent where, you know, my name is Mike, but it's like, it's spelled Maik. So most people in America don't know what to say. They're like, what is this? Like, whatever, you know, people, you know, especially Muslim people that are a lot around people with the name Malik. You know, they call me Malik because, you know, the brain does this to them because there's just one letter missing in the middle.
Yeah.
Americans don't know. People from Mexico, for example, they nail it every time because, you know, that's exactly that sound, right? It's I. So, but when I came here, my first business card that I got for the job that brought me here, I've spelled it Mike because I didn't want this.
Yeah, you don't want constant.
I was like, all right, so I do this. I try to get rid of my accent because I'm coming from an environment, Germany, where if you have a weird name, if you have an accent, people look down on you for whatever reason. It's not like if you don't speak well German, and German is a super difficult language. You know, it's like, it makes no sense at all. It's like with the silent letters in English, where it's like, what? You know, it's like, why is this silent? Well, you know, it's not called salmon. Why? That's what it says. No, it's salmon. The L is silent. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense, right? And well, in German is no better, right? German, we have all those articles that you cannot get it right if you're not like going through school for 12 years. You can't. It's impossible. And even Germans don't get it right most of the time. So we have this, like, you know, we have for we have 6 articles. 6 different for the, right?
Oh my goodness.
So it could be, you know, we have a male, we have a female, we have a neutral. So, but it makes no sense. So it's like, you know, it's D means female, der means is male, and then das means neutral, right? So it's die Frau, der Mann, meaning like the woman, the man. The child is das Kind, meaning like that's not even male or female. That's like just neutral, nothing. It's just it, so, but then you're going into like, animals, the snake is die Schlange, it's female. I mean, kind of makes sense, like if you go at it from the biblical view, right?
Yeah.
But like, actually it makes no sense. So, and then it's like the horse is das Pferd, what is a neutrum, and then the dog is a guy. It makes no sense.
It's like
and then it's like it's even going into like other stuff, carrots. The carrot is female. Makes no sense. Then you have a male bus. It makes no sense if you don't. It's just memorizing it.
Basically.
There's like, but if you don't get this right in Germany, then you're like people look at you like, nah. You're a lesser
German.
person. Yeah, you're like illiterate. I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that?
Like you give
it's so
objects
difficult,
a gender
really.
when they don't have a gender.
Right. It's like it's like, why? Look. So what do you think? The bottle, male, female, or neutral?
Guess the German word.
Well, the German word for that is
Female.
Flasche, but like, is it male, female, or is it neutral? So, I mean, look at it and you would be like, that's probably male. It's female. It makes no sense at all. It's just weird. And then, but again, coming back to, I wanted to get rid of my accent. I wanted to get rid of like my German spelling because I wanted to be integrated, and I didn't want to get the same outcome of like what you would get in Germany, often. Not everyone, but often. And then you come here and everyone is like, oh, where's your accent from? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, cool. Like, where you from? Like, tell me about your place. I was like, what? Like, every time, what I couldn't change was like my name on the credit card, right?
Yeah.
And every time like I go somewhere and pay and everyone is like, what's that? That's an interesting conversation starter. Like no one ever said like, nah, your accent, like look at you weirdly. I mean, they look at you weirdly when you put your foot in your mouth because you like literally translate something from a German expression, right? And I try to like explain, like translate that, and people look at me like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like we say, for example, ich glaube, ich spinne. What means as much as like, oh, I think I'm like going crazy. Or, you would say that when you can't believe like what your child did or whatever, what it really means is like, so spinne means two things.
Yeah.
That means the word spider, and also it means the word like spinning.
Okay.
All right. So what it really means, and that, is really like, I think I'm spinning.
Yeah.
Right. But like, you come here and if I would come to you and I think I would say something in the sense of like, well, I think I spider, then you would be like, what?
Right.
Like, what? Just like,
What's going
you weirdo. So that is more like where people look at you funny here.
They used to do that to me a lot
So
here. I would have like this saying in Cayman, it's like, you get what a duck get. So it's like when you get the short end of the stick, you get what a duck get.
Oh, all
and
right.
I would say it here all the time and like, yeah, you get what a duck get. And people would be like, what?
Yeah, it's like, it makes no sense. I mean,
okay.
but that's also, but that's like being unintentionally funny, right?
Yeah.
That no one is like, oh my God, I don't want to have anything to do with that person or anything like that.
Yeah.
So America is great, especially for immigrants from all over the place. Like, let no one tell you differently. I lived all over the board. I lived in New York, Chicago, Silicon Valley, like now here in the South, in West Virginia. This is the most friendly environment for immigrants in the world. It is like that. And Germany is a country of immigration too. It's a country of immigrants. From all over the place too. Everyone wants to come live in Germany and work there. But there's a huge difference between those two countries, whereas like it's way more friendly here for immigrants. And if you look at it, people that immigrate to the United States are like very likely to become business owners
Yeah.
and become successful business owners for whatever reason. It's like,
You have that freedom.
well, you have that freedom in Germany too. You know, that's like,
yes,
like I said,
yes.
like, and I'm like in between all the time because, you know, I'm running a German YouTube channel and a Facebook channel where, you know, I help people
Yeah.
to immigrate to the United States legally, you know,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, help them how all that works out. And it's like this in between, like
Yeah.
Germany isn't an oppressed country. You know, you're free over there too. Do you have as much freedom as over here? No, you know, but you know, still for whatever reason, it's like the people that come over here, you know, they're more hungry. I don't know. You know, it's like we had this conversation, me and my wife, in the beginning when we just met, where she was like, well, everyone, like, Europe must be so much smarter than America because everyone I meet here in the United States from Europe, they're smart. I was like, well, that's because you meet the good ones. You know, the other ones stay home because they don't have the drive. They don't have, you know, I don't want to like, just, you know, like generalize that and say like everyone in Germany is stupid.
Yeah.
That's not true. Or Europe is stupid. That's not true either. But, you know, that's like the perception because you meet a lot of people that are hungry that come over here and this is the country for you. If you want to achieve something, this is really like, it doesn't matter where you come from. You know, I mean, look at how many like people come from third world countries, you know, they were poor. You know, they were afraid to die. They were afraid to have something to eat in their home country and then came here on whatever way, right? As a refugee or, you know, because they came here on merit, whatever.
Yeah.
This is a country that does something to you if you like see the value of the opportunity that you get here.
Yeah, it's like more possibilities. Like it's like endless. Like you can just think of whatever you want to be and you can just kind of conjure it up and be it. Yeah. Like that's kind of a lot of people's mentality.
Also, what I think is that, you know, as immigrants, you have a little bit of like a benefit here because you didn't grow up here.
Yeah.
You were not, you know, it's like, how to say that? It's like, for example, I'm a consultant, right? For automation in a manufacturing world, right? If I come somewhere and I'm not like in this environment all the time, it's easier for me to find a solution for problems that you don't even realize that you have because I have this outside view. And I think this is also to be said for immigrants that come here that didn't grow up here, right? Whereas like, well, I see all the good here because I know all the bad.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a huge benefit that, you know, outsiders have when they come to this country because they appreciate the environment more than maybe someone that was born and raised here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like growing up in Cayman, it's very island thinking. It was very closed minded. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I needed to leave. Like it was like nobody was thinking outside of the box. Like even though Cayman is one of the very westernized islands, like our biggest industry is banking and tourism. Like there's a whole bunch of banks all over the place.
Oh yeah, so, I mean that's all where the people just hide their money. You
basically,
know? It's like,
basically,
it's kind of like Switzerland just was nice with her. You know, it's like, well, even though like Switzerland, like I think they're not gonna do that much longer, but you know. That's like, yeah, okay, understand. And then, you know, but then that means like you have super rich and like super poor.
Basically.
So, and then
that's how the island is basically like split up. It's like you have the super rich, which, you know, you have there are a lot of celebrities, a lot of people come to the island because it's so quiet. Like the locals aren't like how the US is, like celebrity crazy. Like the locals aren't banging at your door trying to see what you look like kind of thing. So it's very private. So you have a lot of people coming in and out of the island, but just growing up there, the mentality gets you so stuck. Just, oh, this is fine. Just getting up in the morning, going to the beach, coming back home kind of thing. Like even though that's a great life. Everybody wants to have that life.
I don't know. That wouldn't be me. I go to the beach for the kids. I'm not a beach person. So I'm not, you know, I'm not a leisure person.
Yeah, I can't be at the beach for too long. I can be there for probably about 40 minutes to an hour. Then it's like, okay, peace out.
No,
That's
it's,
enough
for
for
me,
me.
it's not. No, that's just not me. So we were down in Florida for I think Labor Day, and I was like, okay,
Yep.
let's move.
It's hot.
It's September. It's not that hot anymore, but
Oh,
still, it's
okay.
like,
Ooh, yeah.
but still, like, it's just not me. Like if you would ask me, okay, vacation, what are you doing? Desert
Okay.
or big city. That's I can relax that.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, the desert, I just want to see it. I don't want to
Yeah.
necessarily like be in it
Be
all the
there.
time. I mean, like be there, yes, but like, it's more like, okay, I'm driving through it. It's awesome. I
Right.
love how it looks, right?
Take a few pictures.
Right.
All right.
And
Let's
then,
go.
okay, let's move on, right?
Yep.
But like everything like beach and stuff like that, it's just nice. It's so boring, It's like I don't know. That's just me, Best case scenario vacation for me, 4 days, 5 days, New York City, something like
Okay.
that. That's like that's relaxing to me.
Okay.
Believe it or not, it's like I did that in February this year. 4 days, just walking the streets of Manhattan. That was like relaxing
Okay.
to me.
That's
I don't know
cool.
why.
I've never been to New York.
No, you
so,
should go. Absolutely, you
Okay.
should go. I mean, I lived in Brooklyn for a while, on and off. Like I didn't have a real visa yet, so I had to go every once in a while and like refresh the visa waiver program. But then we lived in Chicago for I think for a total of almost 4 years.
Okay.
2 of those in downtown Chicago, what is basically a nicer New York City. Yeah, it's way cleaner. It's not as expensive, even though it's still expensive, but you have the lake right there and stuff like that. So love big cities. Really, really like that. But then at the same time, was 2020 really messed it up for everyone. It was a ghost town.
Especially New York.
Well, New York was like bad, but like
It was.
Chicago wasn't as bad, but also like mutually crazy. For like we were like you have the lakefront where there's a boardwalk, like I would say at least like 50 yards wide, and they didn't let you go there. Like it's outside, it's
Right, you
windy,
just walk-
it's on the
right.
lake. It's like why are you doing that?
Like nothing's
like-
alive out here.
Well, right. It's like, well, it's why, and they shut it down. We have like, it's not as big as Central Park. We have Lincoln Park in Chicago. We lived right on the park, right? On the lake, on the
Couldn't go
park,
out there.
and we couldn't do anything. But like you were allowed in a store where everyone is like,
Right.
it's so crazy. So
Oh my goodness.
2020 really messed it up. And then we had the project down here where I was like, you know what? Done. We're moving down here. I have to say this, like I was just back in Chicago in September. If you don't think about the craziness there, I miss it. I miss the food. I miss the restaurants. I miss the park and the museums for the kids, and all that. Like everything is like,
I heard they had some really good museums down there.
museums they're awesome.
Ooh,
Awesome.
okay.
Like for the kids, and like if you're a resident, it's once a month is free. They have
Oh.
the Shed Aquarium that is free once a month for residents.
That's awesome.
And it's like if you go there with a family of 5, that's like $130. That's free once a month. You have I think you have a museum for everything, right?
Yeah.
You have one for surgical medicine. You have one for
Ooh,
the like
that must be interesting.
manufacturing and space force, and I don't know all the names, but like a museum for everything,
Yeah.
right? And like really good big museums, right? And if you're a resident, just like for the kids, it's once a month is free. So
Nice. Have you heard of H.H. Holmes?
no.
No. I think so my husband, he did like this project when he was in school, because I'm always watching like Snapped, like stuff like that, like people getting murdered, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my
So-
wife is into that too. It's like I don't watch TV. So.
He did like this project when he was a kid about this guy called H.H. Holmes. And back in the day in Chicago, they used to have like this World Fair or something like that, like really back in the day. And this guy, he was like really intelligent, but he had this hotel where the hotel was like a murder house. Like he built the inside of the hotel, like certain rooms, like you get stuck in there, or they'll be like, he'll have like trap doors. Like it was,
Oh, really? I've never
yes.
heard of that.
And And I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe he was in Chicago. Like all of this happened around that time when they would have like the World Fair.
Okay, so that's new to me. I mean, Chicago has a lot of history. Like,
and we've been trying to find like documentaries on him, but I have not been able to find any.
okay, so
yeah.
I mean, like I've been a realtor up there, so I saw a lot of like real estate. Like, I just love the real estate there, right? It's like, it's very old. It's all coming back to like the Bauhaus organization there, right? It's all a bunch of like German architects,
Okay.
And I mean, the first skyscrapers really, they all came from Chicago, So, and then the whole like deal was like, Chicago has a grid like New York has, right?
Yeah.
It's all based on a German city also, but it was also like all coming together.
Yeah.
Like it's all based on Mannheim. Mannheim was like a city that was like created on a drawing board.
Okay.
So it is all like the squares, right? The grid. It all comes from that. I mean, you have to imagine like back in the days, like Europe is all based on like, medieval towns, meaning like you have the center, you have the wall around it, and then like everything goes in the star away, right? Like all of Europe is built like that. And then they came up with a city, it's called Mannheim, where there's still like a Mannheim Road and everything in Chicago. And it's like where they put the grid on. And then at some point, I think after the fire, they put the grid on Chicago. And then, they had the Great Fire in 1871, I think. And, then afterwards, they put it on New York and other cities. So that was like, interesting for me. So I got into a lot of those buildings. They're beautiful, right? But then also like, during the time of, the Great Depression in the 20s and 30s, Al Capone was in charge down there. So there's actually
that's interesting.
like an underground city under Chicago, where it's like the guys from Al Capone, there were tunnels that they used to like smuggle all the alcohol and everything. So that's pretty interesting.
That is interesting. I'm sorry, I'm away from
Yeah, no problem.
Come on, big girl. You woke up.
Oh, look at you.
Hello.
Good morning. Hi.
Say hello. I know, girl.
So
I know, girl.
we have a new guest on the show. That's our first. That's our first.
Say hi, Alma. I know, girl. You're just waking up.
Oh, hello. You want to say something?
Say hi.
You on air now? No?
Like, nah. I'm straight. I'm cool.
I was like, who are you anyways?
I've never been in this room.
No. It's very silent in here. I think that's that's great for babies. They love silence like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that's like we put a lot of effort in here to like make it so like very dull when it comes to like sound. It's very treated here, so I can only imagine they love it. I could sleep.
I could sleep in this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, I never did, but I'm not ruling that out. All right. So, if anyone wants to reach out to you, you say you have a website. Is this on here? So how would they get a hold of you? It's sheynaturalsmoothies.com. And you have an Instagram account I see and a Facebook.
Yes.
It's also Shey Natural Smoothies. And anything else?
So you can just follow me on Shey Natural Smoothies on Instagram, Facebook. We also have our website, sheynaturalsmoothies.com. And you can just follow us on there, check us out, and grow with us.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate that. And, I'm going to give it to the little one now.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me. Say bye-bye, Almita. Yeah, that's it? All right.
No.
Got it.
All right.